Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. ICRC presents a new way to help families and caregivers master the challenges of caregiving. We bring to you, the listener, a form of audio respite, a podcast for persons providing care and encouragement to their community and loved ones. This podcast is dedicated to providing encouragement, information, and perspectives on caregiving from employees of ICRC, members of the community, and other agencies who assist the community, seniors, and caregivers. We bring to you episode 5 of the Inland Caregivers Corner. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to episode 5 of the Inland Caregivers Corner podcast. I'm your host, Derek Chacon, a care coordinator with Inland Caregiver Resource Center. It is the month of May, and I wanted to inform and share with you all that it is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. To celebrate, promote, and recognize Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, I have on the show the amazing, inspiring, and ambitious staff from the Asian Pacific Counseling and Treatment Center, SSG, in Riverside, California. The staff at APCTC will be informing us on different Asian cultures as well as Pacific Islander culture. I look forward to hearing from them, and I hope you enjoy this interview with the staff of APCTC. We're going to first start off with Esty, who's going to explain what APCTC is and the awesome services they're providing to the community. Check it out.
Thank you, Derek, for the wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. Once again, my name is Esty Song. I serve our AAPI communities as a community mental health promoter. I would like to share with you who we are. We are from APCTC, which stands for Asian Pacific Counseling and Treatment Centers. I know it's a mouthful. APCTC is a nonprofit organization that is a division of a special service for groups. APCTC was established in 1977 as a directly operated program for Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. And APCTC was the very first mental health center in LA County, specifically developed to meet the unique needs of rapidly increasing numbers of Asian Pacific immigrants and refugees who are in need of a wide range of mental health services. We have contracts with LA County Department of Mental Health, Department of Children and Family Services, California Department of Rehabilitation, Department of Housing. And in 2018, we expanded our services to Riverside County through RCC, which stands for Riverside Counseling Center in Moreno Valley, which is funded by Riverside University Health System, Behavioral Health, to provide a comprehensive outpatient mental health services for all ages in Mandarin Chinese, English, Korean, and Spanish for IHP medical recipients. In 2019, the APCTC Riverside Center was established, funded by RUHSBH, to provide intercultural parenting classes and workshops, mental wellness workshops, and family wellness resources to meet the needs of growing API community here in Riverside County. We provide these services in English, Korean, Laos, Mandarin Chinese, Tagalog, Thai, and Vietnamese. As you can see, APCTC takes a multidisciplinary, culturally sensitive approach to address the psychological and social needs of our clients. We also advocate for the mental health of our community by systematically maintaining and developing effective strategies to meet those needs. Once again, Derek, thank you so much for having us and support us, especially during this very tragic time. As you might be aware, the violence against Asian American Pacific Islanders has surged since the start of pandemic. The forum Stop AAPI Hate released the national report last week, examining incidents that took place over this past year during the pandemic. The number of reported incidents surged from 3,795 to 6,603 in March of this year alone. This is really devastating.
It is extremely devastating, absolutely.
Sometimes deadly attacks against Asian Americans have drastically increased across the nation. We, the AAPI community, have been living here in the United States for more than 160 years, and our forefathers have faced the violence and racism since before the Civil War.
I feel privileged to have you all on here and to listen. As this podcast goes, for those who have listened, I tend to speak a lot to my guests here. However, with this serious subject matter, I prefer to listen, and I encourage all listeners of this podcast to listen to what my guests have to say today. And also in celebration of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, I feel it would be great to hear what those experiences have been. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. We are here today to reflect on the trials and tribulations our community has overcome. By remembering those who stood up against the racism and injustice, we are reminded and encouraged that we can overcome and stop this hate together as we celebrate the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Thank you so much, Derek, for having us here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And up next, we have Julie, who's going to be informing us about Chinese culture. Julie?
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Liu Carmen. So each May, we celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. These 31 days acknowledge the accomplishment and the contribution of the AAPI community in the United States and the world. So let me talk about a little historical background of AAPI Heritage Month. The observance commemorate two events: the arrival of the first Japanese immigrant to the United States on May 7, 1843, and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, largely built by Chinese immigrants on May 10, 1869. So later on in 1979, President Jimmy Carter signed the first presidential proclamation for Asian Pacific American Heritage Week. And in 1990, George W. Bush signed a bill to extend Asian American Heritage Week to a whole month. So in 1992, Congress passed an amendment that's called on the people of the U.S. to observe Asian Pacific American Heritage Month with appropriate ceremonies, programs, and activity. Since then, those who have origin in Asian and Pacific Islander have used the month May to amplify AAPI voices and AAPI pride. But AAPI Heritage Month is not just for Asian American and Pacific Islander. It's a celebration that every American can partake in. So what is the beauty of the United States? That there are so many different cultures in this wonderful land, and that make America unique. So we may be individual, but we share one future. The collective good of the community is increased when we value unique characters, each place in its society. So our difference doesn't separate us. They actually bring us even stronger, closer together. So that makes it easier for everyone to understand that our differences are what make us all beautiful and unique. However, Asian Americans have faced and continue to face hate crimes and racism. So no matter how long Asian Americans have been here, they are treated as perpetual, foreigners. So this is just another reason why we all need to show extra support for the community at this time, and also showing our humanity to the world. So just like I mentioned earlier, API Heritage Month is for everyone. So today I do want to share some fun activity to celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month with the kids, because decades of research show that representation matter. So children are seeing themselves reflected in books, movie, and other media. It's actually empower them to imagine more possibility for their future. And for all kids, learning about other cultures develop empathy and a broader view of the world. So the first activity I really want to share is cooking with your kids. Making an Asian dish, perhaps the most direct way to culture's heart, is through its stomach, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So you can research different countries in the Asian Pacific region with your kids and think about what kind of food the people there might eat. Find a recipe that your kids can help prepare. I'm not really good at cooking, but my son really enjoy eating my fried rice, luckily, huh? But sometimes, but sometimes, we even make our own fortune cookie. So we will write down some goofy or fun message to put inside. Like my 11-year-old son enjoy writing something like, "You will smell your own fart soon," something like that. Or your kids, or your kids might enjoy following a traditional fried rice recipe online. You could also make a special trip to local Asian supermarket. You will find it's actually really interesting. I remember the first time I brought my son to a Chinese supermarket. He thought we are at SeaWorld actually. So there were so many big tanks full of water with live fish and crabs. And the second, you can have the movie night with your kids. Thanks to the technology nowadays, there's so many different platforms or media that we can actually use to learn something wonderful without even going out. So we can pick an Asian related movie to watch together with your kids, like Mulan, which talk about how deeply the Chinese family name and honor can impact individuals' courage and decision making. And Netflix also have an animated movie called Over the Moon. And it is adapted from an old Chinese folk story and talk about one of the Chinese traditional holidays, Moon Holiday. Or just simply watch a video clip on how Chinese celebrating their New Year and why Chinese New Year use the lunar calendar. And third activity is read books together or schedule a library trip. Reading with the kids, especially when they are young, is a great opportunity to expose them to different cultures or perspectives. So many children books with a colorful illustration and a culturally influenced message can be really great resource to help them understand other cultures as well. The last but not the least, visiting any local API historical landmark. I like to tell my friends that the Chinese Pavilion in Riverside is just like the Chinese theater in Hollywood. The Chinese Pavilion was built in honor of the Chinese people who came to Riverside in the late 19th or 20th centuries. It used to be considered the first Chinatown area in Riverside. So you can order some dumplings and have a picnic at the Chinese pavilions. By the way, do you know why Chinese people eat dumpling during Chinese New Year?
No, why is that?
Okay, is it because the dumplings are made in the shape of ancient Chinese money, ingots? Chinese we call 元宝. So when we eat, we wish to have good wealth in the new year. Secondly, like people can be creative. They can stuff their family recipe dumpling in their own way and to make their own personal wishes. So have a blast dumpling picnic with the kids while watching the beautiful sunset inside the Chinese pavilion. Hey, trust me, it will bring you all good luck and fortune.
That's amazing. I've only recently had bao and dumplings, and it was in Diamond Bar, but they were amazing, and it was the first time I've tried kimchi as well, which I loved. It was amazing. I love that you're talking about inclusivity and in the fact that some people may think that they can't celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, but they can by doing exactly the things that you said. I think those are great ideas. So I hope that listeners go ahead and move forward in just enjoying the culture, and whether it's watching a movie or food, because I absolutely love food. So I think that would be a great start. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, Julie. Thank you for all that information. I hope those listening are able to complete one of those activities. Up next, we have Francis, who will be informing us on Filipino culture. Hi, Francis. How are you?
Yes, sorry, I muted, but then the phone rang. But yeah, thank you for having us, Derek. So yeah,
My pleasure.
I'll talk a little bit about Filipinos in America, and I guess I'll start off with a little historical tidbit. So the first Filipinos landed in Morro Bay, October 1587. And that coincides with the fact that we celebrate Full Am History Month every October. Yeah. So we were one of the first between Asian and Pacific Islanders. We were one of the first to be in America. So and that's when we got here. And since then, we've really been through quite a lot, right? Um, and let's see, we've been through many trials, tribulations, even just um, coming to America, lots of successes, also lots of hardships, from like Watsonville riots, where we faced a lot of like racist attacks on us. And it's kind of mimicking what we're experiencing now, the API hate that's been on the rise. So it just goes to show that history kind of repeats itself, but we're trying to, raise awareness and really be there for each other. And that's something that's very big in Filipino culture too, is being there for each other. And we even have like specific words too to kind of illustrate our togetherness, our community. And I'm gonna I'm gonna teach you guys what it is. It's called kapwa and bayanihan. Yeah,
So
kapwa
let
and
me
bayanihan.
so let me try to say this. Can I hear it one more time? Sorry.
Kapwa,
Kapwa.
yes.
Okay. And then the second.
And
And
bayanihan.
by
Bayanihan.
bayanihan.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. And of course, like if you try to look up like the translation of it, it'll just show you like kapwa means person or like fellow person. But in Tagalog and Filipino language, it's a little bit more meaningful than that. Kapwa to us is someone within our community, someone that we help and who helps us. And then on the other side, bayanihan, our other word, if you kind of translate it, it's kind of like well, bayan, which is like the root word of it, means like town, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what it really means is community within that town, within that place. And now it's expanded because there's a lot of Filipinos everywhere in America, in California, all over the world. And we still hold on to this this concept of bayanihan, which is community, togetherness, right? And that's how we show our resilience.
That's really great. I see a lot of pride in folks who are Filipino. You know, they have like shirts and flags and
3 stars and a sun, that's our flag. Yes. Yeah, but it's really meaningful to us. I'll have to defer to Nicole though, because she might know more about this, the symbolicness of the 3 stars in the flag.
sure, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So a little tidbit, the 3 stars stand for the 3 different island groupings. So the Philippines is comprised of like over 1,000 islands, and they're comprised of like the north, the middle, and the south. So star number 1, 2, and 3. The Filipino sun has, I believe, like the amount of rays on the sun are the original provinces, the number of original provinces in the north that that fought against Spanish colonization. So, yeah, that's
Wow.
basically it.
That's awesome because I do see it on hats. Had no idea it was your flag though. That does make sense. It goes into what Francis was saying that you know there's a lot of togetherness. There's a lot of pride in being
Yes.
Filipino. Um,
Yes.
I thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to share. And I just want to say that with how looking back at our history, both in our mainland and here in America, there's always like one common denominator, and that's Filipinos are very resilient and we're such fighters. I'll be the first to say we're such fighters. And I mean, just look at our flag, right? We kind of honor our fighting spirit, our pride, our willingness to be together with our community, no matter where we are. And it just kind of it just bleeds through every generation that we have, whether they were born in the Philippines or they migrated here to the US, or they were born here in the US but they have family in the Philippines. We still hold on to a lot of the traditions that we have. Yeah, such as we really we really like Christmas. There's a fun fact for you. We really like the holidays. It's a very big gathering for us. We still hold on to certain traditions, such as showing our elders respect. And we do that through this thing called manopo, which is we take their hand and we put it to our forehead. And that's our way of showing our respect for our elders, for our family members, even to other Filipino community members who are not our family. They immediately become our family. And the reason why I say that is because when we meet them, we don't even address them just by like name or like Mrs. So and so, Mr. So and so. We address as Tito and Tita or Ate and Kuya, which is uncle, auntie, big sister, big brother. That's how we address other community members within the Filipino community, because our community is very like close knit, and we value family ties, and again the bayanihan concept. That's how we stay resilient throughout the trials and tribulations that we face, and even now when we're facing quite a bit, such as AAPI violence, like what happened with Noel Quintana, who got slashed in the face, and Angelo Quinto, who was kneeled down on his neck even though he was going through a mental health crisis. Despite all that, we remain together, we hold on to each other, and we really find strength within each other. And that's something that I really admire about our culture.
Definitely. I appreciate you saying their names. You know, respect to you for saying that and letting it known. That way, those listening can look up those stories and see that these atrocities are happening. This isn't new things. These things happen. When I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm hearing that there is strength in community. There is strength in the Filipino community when they come together, and they are fighters, and that's something that we can all take in terms of coming together regardless of culture and finding that strength in community to take care of one another, to love one another, and to, you know, move forward in other fights. And I know in Chicano culture, they say mi lucha es lucha. So like my fight is your fight. And I think that's something that many folks can get behind. And crimes that happen are terrible. These racist acts are terrible. And so I appreciate you informing us on those who experience that, so that way we too can learn their names and know that those things should not happen.
Thank you, Derek. Yeah. And I guess my final thing that I just want to share is that on top of yeah, I mentioned that like something that I take pride in with my culture is that we're such fighters, but I also really admire that we're such caregivers too, that we do stand up. Not only do we stand up for each other, but we care about others along with our community. I mean, it just shows, I mean, 30% of nurses are Filipino. There's a lot of Filipino nurses out there. Yes, yes, yes. We care. Yep.
Very true.
Yeah, we care about other people. We even care about, you know, the land. Yeah, because it's part of our nature. I mean, if we look at history, there's the Coachella Valley Filipino farm workers, right? Who advocated for, you know, better labor laws and things like that. And truly our culture, Filipino culture, I just really admire our resiliency, our caring nature, and our fighting spirit. So I hope that to the audience listening to this right now, that they can also admire those qualities about us and, you know, help us in the fight to stop API 8. And again, as you said, mi lucha is tu lucha, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's amazing that you find those similarities between, you know, Chicano culture and Filipino culture with farm workers and providing with community, and even the similarities of like you see your neighbor or somebody, all of a sudden they become your cousin, you know, and it's like, oh, that's my
Yes.
cousin, like, you know what I mean? Like you start claiming different family members and things. So
That's true.
so we have Grace. Hi, Grace.
Hi, Derek. Hi. Yeah, thanks for inviting us. And, you know, I really enjoy hearing my colleagues talk about just different cultures in America and how we've all, our influences that we've had in our communities. And I wanted to share a little bit about the Korean American, I guess, contributions or the influences that our forefathers, their previous predecessors have set for us here in America. Actually, Riverside is a pretty historically significant city when it comes to Korean American history. Some of you may know that there's actually a memorial statue in downtown Riverside of a wonderful, amazing person by the name of An Chang-ho, or more commonly, he's referred to respectfully by his pen name, which was Dosan An Chang-ho. And he was actually one of the most influential Korean independence activists who founded the organization in 1907 to fight the Japanese occupation of Korea, which was from 1910 to 1945. And a little known fact is that he actually founded this organization to fight for freedom and liberation of Korea after returning to Korea from America, right here in Riverside. So he was actually residing in Riverside from 1904 to 1907, and he later came back too in 1911 to 1913. And in history books, a lot of times they overlook this, and they just, you hear a lot of his activities in San Francisco and in LA and Korea, but Riverside is much often overlooked. But it was actually during the early 1900s, because that's when Riverside apparently was one of the wealthiest cities in California. So Koreans, a lot of the immigrant laborers, they came from San Francisco, Hawaii, and other parts of the country to work in the great citrus groves, right? We know Riverside, we love the oranges here. They're so delicious.
Yes, they even have a full-on festival. So
I need to go buy a bag of oranges actually soon.
There you go.
So as the Koreans, they came together in Riverside, Pachapa Camp was established. And this is an area that's currently in that downtown Riverside area around like 14th Street. And so that area became what is known as Koreatown. And that was actually the first Koreatown in America. So not LA, not anywhere else that people might commonly think now, but it was actually right here in Riverside that the first Koreatown was established.
There you go, see? That's amazing. Yeah, it's right here in the IE, right here in the Inland Empire. I didn't know.
I think even very little Korean Americans these days actually know that. So I thought that was really interesting, which is why it makes sense that the memorial statue is there in downtown Riverside. So yeah, Pachapa Camp, when it first got established, it was a settlement in like a segregated part of the city. There was no electricity, there was no running water. It was not the best of areas, but it was an area where the laborers, the Korean community, could come together and call it their own. So year after year, the population, it really grew because the citrus groves were so successful and booming. And it drew a lot of new residents every orange harvest season. So Dosan Antango, he comes into play because he was already recognized as a leader in the community. And he really made sure that workers took pride in their labor and took initiative in building a strong community. And so it really became the center of early Korean community as well as independence movement activities outside of Korea during the early 20th century. And at one point it had even nearly 1,000 residents. And I think that's pretty significant, not to be overlooked. And yeah, I think it's all attributed to Pachapa Camp, where we are today here, just even in Riverside, the roots that were planted back then. And so there's actually a professor at UCR, Dr. Edward Chang. He is a professor for ethnic studies at UCR, but he also founded the Young-ok Kim Center for Korean American Studies. Young-ok Kim is another person that we could probably go on a whole segment about. He's actually a United States born Korean, and he was an army during World War II and the Korean War. And so he's also a very significant figure. But so Dr. Edward Chang, he said, to quote him, he said, this fills a void of modern Korean American and Korean history. And what he means by that is that Dosan Antango, he's such a towering figure in Korean history. Like every child knows of him and we learn of him because he's such a significant figure in Korean history. And we didn't know about this. We didn't know that Pachapa Camp, the origins of the democratic movement, so to say, in Korea started right here in America. And I think that really just shows how significant the Korean American heritage was in terms of influencing Korea as it is today. So I really wanted to share this because I really believe that history, not only is it so interesting and we have so much that we can learn from history, and that's the main point of history, to learn from the past so that we could do better in the future, but it is so crucial. Knowledge is power, and I believe that knowledge of history is also crucial in dismantling racism and a lot of the like the hate and the differences that we have. And I think the more that we know, the more that we can understand one another better. I really think that that is what we need to allow for our communities to just heal and to recognize one another and the values and the contributions that we all make here. And yeah, so I think when I see Dosan Antango, he really brought together the immigrant laborers. He was working alongside with them, not just preaching at them. And as he did that, he was gaining their trust, and he was able to build a community based on his convictions that education was definitely one of the most important components necessary for moral and spiritual renewal of Korean people in terms of gaining independence. So his resilience, as I kind of mentioned before, really planted the seed of what I believe is the Asian American communities throughout America, that deep-rooted sense of culture nurtured by resilience in the face of adversity, to persevere for the sake of the better future, for a better tomorrow. And in this, I really think that we, as Asian Americans, can find hope that we can bring upon greater growth, to overcome the hate that's going on right now, and also to overcome just our individual differences, and overcome even just the barriers in our own community. Coming from APCTC, we are coming as promoters for mental health in our community. And I really think that this is another aspect that we can attribute to in terms of the resilience that allows us to overcome stigmas of mental health, so that as a community we can thrive, not just on the outward where we're just when we're holding in so much pain and we're just not letting go of grudges and hurts. So yeah, I really think that 도산 안창호 was significant in terms of planting that seed, that spirit of overcoming hardship through resilience, and that really gives me hope for our community.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I had no idea that started all in Riverside, and in relating the talks of knowing your history, and so it doesn't get repeated. That's a big step in progression, and also with what you all are doing at APCTC. It's you have a hand in healing that hurt, and healing those whether it's mental health issues, physical issues, just the fact that you have a organization there who are reaching out to the community, to the Asian American Pacific Islander community, and providing a hand in that is going to show great growth in the future. I believe that, and also an inspiration to those, because I know you have people of all ages coming to your organization that are inspired to say, you know what, this person is like me and doing these things for my community. I too want to do it, but just a step above. Like let's do more, because hopefully within that time there will be more opportunity, more technologies, more ways to reach out to everyone. So it's a great thing what APCTC is doing, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds. As I know that you've only started in 2018, I think that's correct. 2018, okay. And so who knows how APCTC is going to be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So I'm excited to see that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Before moving forward with our next guest, I did want to record a quick trigger warning and informing those who may be affected by those speaking of mental health, danger, death, anxiety, prostitution, shootings, post-traumatic stress disorder, blood, feelings of being lost, or trafficking. This next guest will be speaking on these topics, as this is her own personal story. I did want to go ahead and let our listeners know that these topics will be mentioned, and if those topics bring up a feeling of anxiety, then I'd ask to go ahead and skip forward to the 54-minute mark of this story. It is a very powerful story, and I do recommend those listening to continue to listen to it. But this is a safe space, and I did want to go ahead and place a warning that those topics will be discussed in this next interview with Christine.
Miss Christine?
Okay. This is Christine. Okay. May is the month of mental health. Every year we did celebrate about the people been through, suffer from PTSD. Then I want to share about my family. we left the country from Vietnam, 1945. My parents have to escape from French colony took over our country. That's why we have to escape, cross the border by road. Everything is new thing for us. And we have to face with danger. We know it. Something is, we have no food. We don't speak the language at the local. My parents and my brother from Vietnam escaped to Laos. They walked like month to month to get to Laos. We tried to settle in Laos, build up new life. Then 1975, the communist took over again. Then we have to escape again, the second one. We escaped to Thailand by Mekong River. During at night, we have to go to the jungle to wait for the boat. They pick up us to cross the river to Thailand. And we witnessed a lot of people being killed. They're shooting people die in the river. A lot. The next day when we get to Thailand, we saw a lot of bodies float on the river. During that time, we are suffer from PTSD a lot. Most of the young girls from 12, 13, 14, they cannot contact with parents because during the time the refugee camp is a lot of people go different direction. Then they don't have food to eat, then they have to go to do prostitution. They have to escape from the camp to go to the city to do anything people to get money to survive. I have one of my sister, she didn't escape from Laos to Thailand same time with us because during that time she's stuck in Vietnam. Then lucky that she can flew from Vietnam to Laos. Then from Laos to Thailand, we have to escape because the government won't let anyone get out of the country. Then she find the connection, someone will bring her to Thailand. And that night, they have about 25 people, meet one house, then wait until midnight, and they took 25 girls or boys to go to the jungle again to wait until the boat comes and they can escape to the boat and go to Thailand. My sister, during that time, she have stomach upset and she have to go to the jungle to take care of her personal thing. Then when she get out, that house is all dark. Nobody there. She called to see anyone around. Nobody. She smelled blood. She smelled blood. Then she stayed in that house until next day when she get up, a lot of blood around the house, but nobody, just only blood. Then she just run middle of the jungle, then met with couple Laotian people. They said that night they kill everybody. That's why my sister is lucky she's alive, but she had PTSD. Finally, we live in the camp. We suffer for 6 months to survive, and the United States government picked us to come to United States to settle down our new life. We're not contact the parent because parent go different direction, brother go different direction, go different direction, my sister go different direction. Until I become, one day I got a call from my mom and she come over, she said she want to visit me. And she came to United States in Washington, D.C. I'm in California then, end up she got stroke because she's so exciting to see her daughter. And she got stroke. She passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that, Christine.
But I'm thank you that I have survived till today. I put all my heart, my soul to support most of the refugee people who suffer from PTSD. That's why I chose to work with mental health department to help other people been through from PTSD, schizophrenia, anything related to mental. Then I'm thank you for APCTC that give me a chance to continue to support another Asian community. But somehow recently we see things like hate crime. It really affects us because we try our best to build up our new life. We support, we try to become a good citizen. But thing is, bring our memory back, it suffer. Right now is most of the Vietnamese, Lao, Cambodian is suffer from PTSD a lot. And Orange County is the district that most of the Vietnamese people stick together because they are the same symptom. Then I'm choose to work in Orange County because I work from LA County Department Mental Health. I serve different ethnic people, but somehow my mind going back. Then I say I want to help most of Vietnamese because they have the self-esteem and low stigma to share about the experience about they've been through. And most of the people from PTSD, they come to United States and their life is, environment, everything is changed. It doesn't look like the same. And the husband killed wife, and the parent doesn't understand the children. A lot of things going with our community. That's why I'm here today to share about.
Available to where people can hear your story and hear exactly how you feel about everything that is going on currently with Asian American, Pacific Islander Americans. It's very powerful. I don't think there's another word that can describe that. So I thank you so much. And it shows a lot of strength that you have to go through something like that, something that is traumatic, and in turn spend your life assisting other people and helping other people. That's a great testament to your character. I just wanted to say that you're definitely a healer in healing. I'm sure many people, even just speaking with you before this, I got just a good sense of someone who is just wanting to help. And so I thank you so much for coming on the Inland Caregiver Corner podcast and informing listeners on your story. I think we're all privileged to hear it. So thank you. Is there anything else, Ms. Christine, that you'd like to share? Just because I know that that you've had a lot of experience in assisting the community. I'd love to hear anything you have to say on your experience.
When I went to USC, then I tried to become psychology. Then I see a lot of things going on in Asian community, like child abuse, trafficking thing. That's why I changed my goal to go to different way. Then I'm volunteer work at the shelter, veteran woman shelter in LA County to support most of the trafficking Asian community have been bring over here to be prostitution and also to be slave. After I volunteer working with the shelter, then I signed up with the LA County Department, LA County Department to mental health to help the refugee people. They escape from Vietnam, then they don't know direction to go. Then we help them. I'm the one who requests State Board to open the nail school. I'm the first one request the nail school for the refugee people, and they say, why you want to let the Vietnamese people go to that field? I said, because they don't need the language. They just do by hand, and the training take only 6 months. Then both, State Board say, okay, that's a good, short term for the people build up the new life here. And I'm the one sign up with the State Board that, okay, this is all the training for people learn how to do now. Then State Board didn't request them the certificate, just say, okay, let them go training. After they pass training, then they take the license. That's why the nail is booming today is from us. I'm the first one who put that education. Now is booming every day. And also,
thank you to bring this beautiful nail thing to
yeah, because
Yeah.
nobody know where's the nail coming from. I wait until someday I lost a job, then I will speak up. I don't want to say it now. And also, I'm working with a mental health department in LA County, then transfer to Orange County Department Mental Health. I work as the outpatient clinic for Asian population, Vietnamese, Lao, Cambodian. And after that, then border supervisor, Orange County border supervisor, they know that I know 5 languages, Vietnamese, Lao, Thai, and French. And they say, okay, I want Christine to represent, border supervisor to solve problems for the community. Then they picked me from Department of Mental Health to the border supervisor, problem solving for the community, not only Vietnamese, for everybody walk into the building, then we serve them. And also Westminster Police Department say, oh, Christine, she's the best to deal with the homeless population. Then they request me one day to patrol with the Westminster PD. Yeah, we go to help all the veteran, homeless, and also, most of the drug and alcohol people be on the street. We pick them up, then we put them on the shelter, we put them on detox program, and to get back a normal life. But now is seeing things change and COVID-19, pop up, then I stuck in my office for since March until now. I'm the mission impossible for Orange County. Most of the government office is closed. I'm the only one to take the phone call hotline. People call in. We have like 500 to 700 phone call per day.
Wow.
A lot of things going on. And now I'm surviving till today. This is me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for sharing, and I feel privileged to hear everything that you've done and that you're continuing to do. It's amazing. I'm glad to meet a new friend. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you.
Next time I go to do my manicure, I was thinking of you, Christine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what an opportunity, to create something that provides opportunity for others to develop and possibly even be business owners or anything like that. That's beautiful. That's an amazing thing to have, and just to have the idea, to have it sparked and move forward in it. So we have Nicole.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to make sure I had it right.
You like to try my last name? Just kidding.
I will, because you asked, but I'm gonna try my best. Okay, Winden.
Oh, that is so very close. Great
Oh,
job.
okay.
Great job.
Okay.
Nicole Dumagindin. So
And I
yeah,
think I did
you
that
did
last time
great.
too.
Yeah,
Dumaginden.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
But thank you again for having us here, and thank you to everyone who is with here listening to this podcast. I'm kind of just gonna do a wrap up of just how celebrating Asian Pacific Islander heritage of resilience. It starts with understanding that we are diverse. One size does not fit all in when it comes to understanding our struggles, our hopes, and the solutions necessary to empower all of our communities. I mean, we're 6 different voices from 4 different countries of origin, and it's on one podcast, and it's still not enough to like really appreciate all the contributions and struggles of the API community. I want to share a quick quote by Filipino writer Carlos Bulosan. He wrote this back in 1940, but it's still relevant today. The quote goes, "If you want to know what we are, look at the men reading books, searching in the dark pages of history for the lost word, the key to the mystery of the living peace. We are factory hands, field hands, mill hands, searching, building, and molding structures. We are doctors, scientists, chemists, discovering and eliminating disease, hunger, and antagonism. We are soldiers, Navy men, citizens, guarding the imperishable dreams of our fathers to live in freedom. We are the living dream of dead men. We are the living spirit of free men and women, right? To be
Yes.
inclusive, right?
To be all inclusive, absolutely.
Yes, and just again, the term API is very diverse. Like when you look at the actual map of where this covers, right? You have South Asia, like that region of India, Pakistan, Southeast, which includes Vietnam, the Philippines, Indonesia, East Asia, which is like Chinese, Korean, and then also the Pacific Islands, right? Everywhere from like Samoa, Tonga, Chamorro in Guam, even the native Hawaiian communities as well. And just a little bit of history, like that term emerged in the 1980s when the US Census grouped the two diverse communities together, and since then it's kind of just been this opportunity for us to unite around our shared histories of colonization, struggles for sovereignty, our immigrant experiences, and even just our cultural values. And like to me, that's why you see a large number of just Asian Pacific Islanders who are resonating not just within the group of each other's struggles, but also other immigrant experiences, even other people who are struggling for sovereignty, self-determination. So like an example of that, right, would be me making space on this podcast to do a really quick land acknowledgement, saying that the original caretakers of the land I'm living on are the Tongva, Kauai, and Luiseño peoples. Am I still here?
You
Okay,
are still here, and we're still listening.
thank you. And yet, although this grouping of the API community really does increase our collective visibility, it's important that we continue to challenge ourselves to look beyond the surface, right? When we disaggregate the data, when we seek out the different voices, images, and stories, we gain not just a deeper appreciation for these communities but what is necessary to continue supporting them in their time of need and when that time of need is. Thank you again, Derek, and the ICRC. It is our hope that as we continue to celebrate API heritage, we uplift all Asian Pacific Islander voices, especially those at the margins, this month and beyond. Thank you.
Yes, no, absolutely, absolutely. Let's continue to do that, continue to uplift all Asian American Pacific Islander heritages, cultures, islands, countries. Continue to learn, continue to grow. And I do want to clarify that. So I said, what I said before, my Spanish is terrible. I don't really know Spanish, but I do know certain phrases. So it was actually Tu lucha es mi lucha, which is your fight is my fight. So I said the English part correct, but I said the Spanish part wrong. So my apologies, but it is Lulucha, es mi lucha. And so I did want to clarify that for those listening. And I do believe that. I do believe that the more, as an individual, just myself, the more I learn about other cultures, other figures, other people's history, the more not only can I relate to that and understand, the more I'm able to be encouraged to provide support and encouragement to friends, family, anyone of a different culture, background, or because nobody should need to withstand pain like that, whether it's racism, whether it's, differential treatment, none of it needs to be abolished. And I say that with conviction, as I want to be anti-racist, completely anti-racist, and I just don't stand for it. So thank you all so much for sharing your culture and your story with me. I genuinely appreciate it. And I will say, become very nervous as in this time of cancel culture, saying the wrong thing can, get you into some trouble. But I appreciate all of you teaching me on cultures that I know nothing about or know very little about. And I feel that's how we grow as well, is we just spend time. We spend time with each other. We talk to each other. We listen. Listening is a big thing. Listen to each other, and that's how we grow together. So thank you so much for the staff of APCTC. I greatly appreciate you joining me on the Inland Caregivers Corner for Acknowledge and Recognize Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you.
Cảm ơn.
谢谢.
감사합니다.
아리가또 고자이마스.
Salamat.
Cảm ơn. ขอบคุณมากค่ะ ขอบใจหลาย
谢谢. Green Makasi.
감사합니다.
아리가또 고자이마스.
Salamat po.
You all.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Very awesome. All right. So I did want to talk about really quick, since I know I'm going to surprise this, I'm going to throw this on you, but I did receive an invitation to your upcoming event. It's
Hope and Resilience.
The Hope event, the AAT.
Hope event.
Yes,
Yes,
that
yes.
is the one.
That's
Yes.
that's the event for AATF, so Asian American Task Force. So yes, please join us. More the
Yes.
merrier. Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
So what's going to be happening with that? I know it's going to be over Zoom, right? It's still going to be virtual. There's going to be a art contest or an arts contest. And then
there's going to be performance, and there's going to be we have a couple speakers. They're going to be speaking about anti-hate crime as well. But the whole theme is resiliency, building resiliency through hope. So people will come and really uplifted, and it's going to be, if you enjoyed today's podcast, you're going to enjoy that event more. So please come and join us. Yes.
Perfect. So when is that? I know it's on a Wednesday. I think it's May 20th.
Wednesday 26, right? Wednesday 26. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking to join. I was so happy to get that invitation and to continue gaining the updates on APCTC and the organization. So I will be joining that. If may not be the whole thing, but I'm going to try my best.
Great.
Because that sounds awesome. And and I'm also going to get that word out to anyone else who would like to join.
Yes, please.
Yes,
please
thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you for joining us. And Derek, I wanted to ask you, so when you wrap up our podcast at the end, if you have more questions, or if you need to contact APCTC, www.apctc.org, and also our phone number, 951-405-8250. And you could find us on Facebook. It's APCTC Riverside. Derek, we just want to thank you so much for providing this wonderful opportunity, a safe place where we could all come together to share our stories. And by sharing our stories, we're truly being healed. And we really want to thank you. And I'm hoping that one day that our AAPI stories will become America's story. And our children will hear about our stories as their story.
Thank you again so much for just wanting to do this and taking the time out of your day. I'm excited for the next one. I think the next one is going to be great, where we go ahead and talk about self-care and also how different cultures provide self-care or how they caregive for their loved ones and their family. So I'm excited for that one. Be on the lookout. That's going to be coming up in June for episode 6 of Inland Caregivers Corner podcast. And so once again, I want to thank the ladies, the wonderful staff at APCTC Riverside. Please check out their organization. They're doing amazing things for the community, for their culture, for their heritage. Visit all the things that they have going on, visit their website, their Facebook. Thank you guys again. I appreciate it.
All right, so that was my conversation with the wonderful staff over at APCTC Riverside. If you have any further questions for the ladies of APCTC, you can find them at www.apctc.org, or you can call APCTC Riverside at 951-405-8250. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Inland Caregivers Corner podcast. Thank you so much to the staff at APCTC again, your passion for what you provide to the community. Thank you for informing all of us on the beautiful cultures of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. I hope it was informative to you all, the listeners, and you were able to take away a new knowledge of Asian American and Pacific Islander culture. Next month, the staff of APCTC will be returning to discuss self-care, elderly self-care, and providing care to parents with disabilities. I hope you will join me again. If you, your neighbor, a friend, relative, or colleague need resources with caregiving, please contact Inland Caregiver Resource Center at 800-675-6694. Add us on Facebook at facebook.com/ICRC1985. You can follow us on Instagram at Inland Caregiver. And of course, check out our beautiful new website at www.inlandcaregivers.org. Keep listening to Inland Caregivers Corner for information and resources as we continue to master the challenges of caregiving together. I'm Derek Chacon, and continue to care for yourself, your loved ones, and your community. Take care.